Let us take a slow, deep breath and step backward in time. Imagine the endless blue of the Caribbean Sea, stretching out like a sheet of hammered glass under a sky so hot it seems to shimmer. Now, imagine rising from that blue, a solitary wall of gray limestone. This is Curacao. A tiny, forgotten speck of rock resting in the deep indigo waters of the southern Caribbean, just 65 kilometers north of the South American mainland. The coast of Venezuela, the land rises like a jagged obsidian tooth from the sea. Look closely at this horizon. This is not the tropical Caribbean of your dreams. There are no emerald canopy forests whispering in the humid breeze, no soft, endless curtains of weeping palm trees bowing to a gentle, welcoming tide. Instead, there is only a stark, sun-bleached desert. An unforgiving wilderness of ancient coral reef, fossilized in stone, towering cacti standing like sentinels, and twisted, thorny acacia bushes. Everything here survives through sheer defiance. Everything here clings to life under a merciless, blinding sun that bakes the ground to a dry crust. In 1499, when the Spanish explorer Alonso de Ojeda first cast his anchor into these shallow waters, he was accompanied by the famous cartographer Amerigo Vespucci. They looked upon this dry, dusty expanse with bitter disappointment. They climbed the rugged hills, their boots scraping against the sharp, dry limestone, searching for any sign of wealth. But they found no glittering veins of gold, no silver, no rivers of fresh water to sustain a colony. No rich, deep soil that could grow valuable cash crops for the Spanish crown. In their official reports, they wrote down a cruel name that would stain the island's memory for centuries: Isla Inútil, the useless islands. To the conquerors, this place was a geographical error, a dry, barren rock of no value to the modern empire. They saw nothing here worth fighting for, nothing worth keeping. Yet, the very ground they cursed and abandoned would rise to become one of the most critical, wealthy, and contested seaports on the face of the earth. How does a place deemed completely worthless by the greatest empires of the Old World transform into a crown jewel of global trade? How does dryness turn into sweetness? How does a cursed stone become a sanctuary? This is the great unfolding mystery of Curacao, an island that was overlooked, forgotten, and left to bake in the sun, only to surprise the world in ways no one could have ever predicted. To truly understand this place, you must first strip away every romantic postcard and superficial travel advertisement you have ever seen. You must feel the hot, dry wind that sweeps across the black volcanic cliffs. You must listen to the roaring ocean as it pounds endlessly against the ancient coral limestone on the wild, unprotected northern coast. The Spanish saw only emptiness because they were looking through the lens of greed. They failed to see the quiet, beautiful soul of the people who had already made this desert their home. For over 1,500 years, the Caucasian people of the Arawak Nation had walked these dry, dusty paths. They did not see a useless island. They saw a sacred sanctuary. They had learned the language of the dry land. They knew which plants held water, which roots could heal, and how to read the patterns of the stars above this quiet sea. In the deep, cool shadows of the Hato Caves, they carved their lives and their spirits directly into the ancient limestone. They painted faces, spirals, and sacred symbols using red clay, earth, and charcoal. they left behind a silent testimony, a quiet promise that humanity could not only survive, but find deep meaning in the most hostile environments. But the arrival of the European sails in the late 15th century brought a devastating winter to this sunny paradise. The Spanish did not see the beauty of the Kikitio soul. They saw only bodies to be exploited, muscles to be worked until they broke. Within decades of their arrival, the native population was rounded up, put in heavy chains, and dragged away to the toxic gold mines of Hispaniola. The caves of Curacao fell into a long, dark silence. The drawings on the limestone walls were left behind, staring into the dark, cold emptiness. Their voices were swept into the wind, lost to the rustle of the dry, divi-divi trees that bend in the constant breeze. For a long time, the island was nothing but a quiet, sun-baked graveyard. An abandoned outpost where wild cattle, brought by the Spanish, wandered through the thorny brush under a silent sky. But history is a master of unexpected turns. And the greatest asset of Curacao was something the Spanish completely overlooked because they were blinded by their search for gold. They were looking down at the dry, dusty soil. They should have been looking at the shape of the water. On the southern coast, the island's unique geology had formed a physical miracle of nature. St. Anna Bay, a deep, narrow channel of ocean water that leads directly into a massive, perfectly sheltered inner lagoon called the Shotegat. It was a perfect, natural deepwater harbor, a safe haven where the largest merchant ships of the era could glide directly into the heart of the island, completely protected from violent storms and hidden from enemy fleets. In 1634, as the Dutch Republic rose to challenge the global power of Spain, they saw the immense strategic value of this natural gateway. They did not care about finding gold mines. They cared about trade routes, shipping lanes, and global dominance. The Dutch West India Company sent a powerful fleet, swept the Spanish aside, and claimed the island for their own. They immediately built Fort Amsterdam, a massive stone fortress standing guard at the mouth of St. Anna Bay, its heavy cannons pointing out toward the open sea. The useless island was useless no more. It was now a vital base of operations, a heavily armed crossroads of the transatlantic world. But this rise to prominence carried a heavy, tragic cost. As the harbor grew, it became the beating heart of a brutal economic machine. A dark human trade that would reshape the demographics, the culture, and the spirit of the island forever. We often look at beautiful places and see only the surface. We see the bright pastel walls, the sparkling turquoise water, and the smiling faces of locals welcoming us to their shores. But have you ever stopped to wonder about the weight of the history beneath your feet? Have you ever paused to think about how much pain is buried under the colorful paint of the places we love to travel? If you look at your own life, have you ever felt like Curacao? Have you ever been dismissed, called useless, or cast aside by those who couldn't see your true value because they were looking for the wrong things? How did you find your own inner strength to rise above their judgment and rebuild your world? As we prepare to dive deeper into this incredible, heartbreaking, and ultimately inspiring story, I want to invite you to join us on this journey of discovery. If you are ready for this epic journey, drop a comment telling me where in the world you are watching from. Hit the like button. Subscribe to 4K Travel Documentary and turn on notifications so you never miss more of our upcoming videos. Your support is what allows us to keep uncovering these forgotten histories, to travel to the far edges of the earth, and to bring these deep, cinematic stories to life. Let us stand together on the edge of this deep blue abyss. Let us step past the bright facades of Willemstad and into the shadows of the past, where the real, unbroken soul of Curacao is waiting to be found. Look across the moving water of St. Anna Bay. What you see is a sight that seems almost impossible to believe. A long, spectacular row of narrow, steep-gabled colonial buildings, painted in a dazzling kaleidoscope of colors: ochre yellow, deep cobalt blue, soft coral pink, vibrant lime green. This is Handelsgade, the iconic waterfront of Willemstad. It looks like a slice of 17th century Amsterdam that was somehow picked up, carried across the vast Atlantic, and placed onto a tropical shore. And then, washed in a brilliant rainbow of dreamlike hues. But, as with everything on this overlooked island, there is a deep, hidden truth behind the beauty. A story of power, deception, and a secret that remained buried until a governor drew his very last breath. For decades, travelers have been told a beautiful, romantic story about how these colors came to be. We are told that in the early years of the 19th century, between 1815 and 1819, the island was ruled by a Dutch governor-general named Albert Kikkert. The governor was said to be a man plagued by terrible, agonizing illnesses. He suffered from violent, blinding migraine headaches that left him locked in his darkened chambers for days on end, unable to bear even the slightest hint of light. His personal physician, a thin man with round glasses, examined him under the dim flicker of candlelight. He looked out the window at the city of Willemstad. At the time, every single stone building in the capital was painted a pristine, brilliant white. Under the harsh, vertical glare of the Caribbean sun, those white walls acted like giant mirrors. They reflected a blinding, white-hot intensity back into the streets and directly into the governor's grand windows. The doctor concluded that this intense, constant glare was the direct cause of the governor's suffering. It was slowly burning his eyes and triggering the storms inside his brain. And so, to save his own health, Governor Kikkert issued a strict royal decree. By the end of the week, no building in Willemstad could remain white. Every citizen was ordered to paint their home in a different color: blue, red, yellow, green, anything but the blinding white that tortured the governor's eyes. The townspeople grumbled, but they complied, spending their hard-earned money on colorful paints. And almost overnight, the city was transformed into a masterpiece of color. It is a beautiful, compassionate story of a city changing its face to ease the pain of its leader. But history has a way of peeling back the paint to reveal a much colder, more calculating reality. In 1819, Governor Albert Kikkert passed away unexpectedly. When the local magistrates and lawyers went through his personal papers to settle his estate, they uncovered a shocking secret, a ledger that changed the history of the island forever. Albert Kikkert did not issue the decree to save his eyes. He issued it to fill his pockets. It was revealed that the governor held a majority, secret shareholding in the only paint factory operating on the island of Curacao. By outlawing the color white, he had forced every single property owner on the island to purchase expensive, imported colored pigments directly from his own business. The blinding migraines were a calculated, highly profitable lie. The entire colorful identity of Willemstad, now celebrated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was born from a brilliant, corrupt marketing scheme. It makes you think, doesn't it? How often do the rules we are forced to follow by those in authority have nothing to do with our well-being and everything to do with their wealth? Have you ever experienced a situation in your own life where a decision presented as a benefit turned out to be a calculated trick? How did it feel when you finally uncovered the truth behind the colorful facade? If this story of historical deception opens your eyes, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts. Hit that like button and share this video with someone who loves a good historical mystery. Your interaction is what keeps this channel alive. Yet the true beauty of the human spirit is that it can take a corrupt scheme and turn it into a symbol of pride. Over the generations, the people of Curacao reclaimed those colors. They made them their own. They did not see the greed of Kikkert anymore. They saw a reflection of their own vibrant, multicultural soul. Willemstad grew, divided by the deep waters of St. Anna Bay into two distinct contrasting neighborhoods. On the eastern side lies Punda, the older, fortified heart of the city. Its name comes from the Old Dutch word for the point. Here, the streets are narrow, historic, and tightly packed around the imposing stone walls of Fort Amsterdam. It was a place designed for defense, for control, and for the wealthy merchants who ruled the colonial trade. But across the water, on the western side, lies Otrobanda, which simply means the other side in Papiamento. Otrobanda grew as the free, sprawling, and artistic soul of the capital. It was built by those who did not fit within the fortified walls of Punda: freed slaves, working-class families, and artists who built spacious homes shaped like tropical estates. Today, Otrobanda is an open-air museum of resilience. During the annual Kaya Kaya Festival, the historic alleyways are completely transformed. Murals of incredible emotional depth are painted onto the peeling plaster walls by local and international artists. Children run through streets filled with live music, and the air smells of rich, local food. Art here is not locked away in a museum. It is painted onto the very stones where people live, breathe, and struggle. For centuries, these two neighborhoods were physically separated by the deep, rushing waters of the bay. To cross from Punda to Otrobanda, you had to take a small wooden rowboat, battling the strong currents. But in 1888, a structural miracle was completed: the Queen Emma Bridge. A massive floating pontoon bridge spanning 167 meters across the bay. Locals affectionately call her our swinging old lady. She is the only permanent wooden pontoon bridge of her kind in the entire world. Whenever a massive ship needs to enter the harbor, the entire bridge does not rise or lift. It swings, using two powerful diesel engines and propellers controlled from a tiny cabin. The bridge pivots slowly from one end, swinging parallel to the Otrobanda shoreline like a giant door. And for a few moments, the city pauses. The citizens stand at the water's edge, watching this massive wooden road float gracefully across the blue bay. But in the early days of the bridge, between 1901 and 1934, the colonial authorities decided to charge a toll to cross. A toll of 2 cents. But they included a highly unusual, bizarre exception. If you were barefoot, you could cross the bridge completely for free. The rule was designed to protect the poorest residents, who could not afford the 2 cents to travel between Punda and Otrobanda. But this practical rule created an incredible, deeply emotional psychological paradox. The wealthy merchants and upper-class residents, who wore fine leather shoes, were desperate to avoid paying the toll. So, as they approached the bridge, they would sit on the stone steps, pull off their expensive shoes, and walk across the wooden planks barefoot, purely to save their 2 cents. Meanwhile, the poorest citizens of Curacao, who spent their entire lives walking barefoot on the sharp, hot limestone of the desert, did something completely different. They would carry their only pair of shoes, saved for Sunday church or special occasions, securely in their hands. When they reached the edge of the bridge, they would proudly put their shoes on, walk across the wooden planks with their heads held high, and gladly pay the 2 cents. To them, paying that tiny while wearing shoes was a declaration of human dignity, a proud statement to the colonial world that they were not invisible, that they were human, and that they deserved to walk with the same pride as the wealthiest merchants in the colony. Isn't it fascinating how the very same object can mean so many different things depending on who is holding it? To the rich, shoes were a burden to be discarded for a coin. To the poor, they were a hard-won symbol of respect. Have you ever sacrificed comfort or money in your own life just to stand tall and claim your dignity? How do you define true wealth and dignity in a world that often judges us by what we wear? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your stories of resilience are what make this community so special. In 1974, the screech of automobile tires was finally removed from the wooden planks of the Queen Emma Bridge. The massive Queen Juliana Bridge was completed, rising 56 meters above the sea, a steel giant that allowed the heavy oil tankers and cargo ships to pass beneath, while cars were permanently diverted away from the waterfront. The swinging old lady was returned to the pedestrians. Today, as the sunset paints the sky in shades of gold and violet, the lights on the bridge flicker to life. They cast a shimmering neon rainbow onto the dark water of St. Anna Bay. Just along the edge of the water, the floating market once buzzed with life. Venezuelan merchants, having sailed 60 kilometers across the open ocean, would dock their wooden boats at dawn. They filled the waterfront with fresh mangoes, bright yellow bananas, and rich green avocados, bringing the colors of the mainland to this dry desert rock. It was a place of endless exchange, of voices speaking in Papiamento, Spanish, and Dutch. A place where the ocean did not divide, but connected. But as we look upon these colorful streets and floating bridges, we must prepare ourselves to step into a much darker, heavier chapter. Because beneath these bright facades lies a history written in iron, fire, and the unbreakable will of a people who refused to be broken. Look down into the quiet, dark depths of Kattegat Bay. Today, the water is calm. It reflects the passing clouds and the gentle, slow-moving hulls of modern cargo ships. But if you could peer through the mirror of time, down into the dark mud of the harbor floor, you would hear a different sound. The heavy, metallic clink of iron, the soft, desperate weeping of thousands of voices, and the harsh, commanding shouts of men who believed that a human soul could be bought, sold, and traded like a sack of sugar. For more than a century, this peaceful harbor was the dark heart of the Dutch transatlantic slave trade. When the Dutch West India Company seized Curaçao from the Spanish in 1634, they did not just build a fortress. They built a massive, highly efficient human depot, an international slave market where ships arriving from the gold-dusted coast of West Africa would empty their holds. The enslaved men, women, and children were led off the wooden decks, their eyes squinting in the blinding Caribbean light. They were marched into crowded holding pens, built right along the water's edge. Here, they were washed, inspected by wealthy buyers, and branded with hot irons. Their names, their languages, and their histories were stripped away, replaced by numbers in colonial ledgers. Most were shipped onward to the massive sugar and tobacco plantations of South America and the larger Caribbean islands. But thousands remained behind to work on the dry, stony plantations of Curacao, cutting sugarcane and gathering salt under a sky that offered no mercy. To look upon these beautiful turquoise waters today and ignore this heavy shadow is to close our eyes to the very soul of the island. Every colorful wall in Willemstad, every stone in the old fortresses, was laid by hands that wore the scars of iron chains. Have you ever visited a beautiful, historic place and suddenly felt the silent weight of the history that built it? How do we balance our appreciation for the beauty of the present with a deep, honest respect for the pain of the past? If you believe that history must be told completely, without hiding the dark chapters, take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who values the true, untold stories of our world. Your interaction is a powerful voice for truth. To see where the spark of resistance was finally struck, we must travel far to the west, away from the colorful streets of Willemstad and deep into the rugged wilderness of Westpunt. Here, nested among the dry, cactus-studded hills, lies the historic Nip Plantation, known locally as Canepa Grande. Today, Canepa is famous for its breathtaking white sand beach, where travelers from around the world swim in water that looks like liquid sapphire. But in the hot August of 1795, this valley was a place of agonizing labor, sweat, and absolute despair. The sun beat down on the fields, baking the limestone soil to a hard white glare. The enslaved laborers worked from dawn to dusk, their backs bent, their fingers torn by thorn bushes, under the constant watch of the overseer's whip. But among them walked a man whose spirit could not be tamed by chains. Tula. Tula was not just a laborer. He was a man of profound intelligence, deep vision, and quiet authority. He had listened closely to the rumors carried by sailors arriving in the harbor. He heard whispered stories of a great revolution across the sea in France. He learned that the French had declared that all human beings were born free and equal. He heard that the French had abolished slavery in their colonies, and Tula asked himself a simple, dangerous question. If France has declared that all men are free, and if the Dutch are now allied with France, then by what law do we remain in chains? The question was a spark of pure fire in a dry desert land. On the morning of August 17, 1795, the spark became an explosion. Tula stepped forward. He refused to take up his tools. He looked directly into the eyes of the plantation owner, Caspar Lodewijk van Utrecht, and spoke words that shook the foundations of the colonial world. "We have been abused too long," Tula declared, his voice calm, steady, and unbroken. "We do not seek to harm anyone. We seek only our freedom, the freedom that belongs to us by the law of nature." With those words, the chains of the mind were broken forever. Tula led the enslaved workers of Nip off the plantation. They did not run away into the hills to hide. They marched. They went from plantation to plantation, calling upon their brothers and sisters to lay down their tools and join the march for human dignity. Within days, a solitary protest transformed into a massive, organized uprising of more than 4,000 souls. Nearly a quarter of the island's entire population was marching across the dry, thorny fields under the hot sun. They took weapons where they could find them, but their greatest strength was their absolute unity. They defeated the local colonial militias in several early skirmishes, proving that courage could overcome steel. Think about the immense bravery it took for Tula to stand up and speak those words. He knew the punishment for rebellion was torture and death. He knew the entire power of an empire would be unleashed against him. Yet, he chose to speak. Have you ever had to stand up for what was right when everyone else was silent? Have you ever had to find the courage to speak truth to power, even when the consequences seemed terrifying? Tell us your story in the comments below. Your words of courage might be the very spark someone else needs to hear today. The colonial government in Willemstad panicked. They saw this march not as a demand for justice, but as an existential threat to their wealth and power. They dispatched a heavily armed, professional military force to crush the rebellion. Despite their incredible courage, Tula's forces were outgunned, exhausted, and desperately short of water in the dry, unforgiving terrain. Through betrayal and overwhelming military force, the uprising was eventually suppressed. Tula was captured. But even in chains, his dignity remained completely unbroken. On October 3, 1795, Tula was brought to the gallows in Willemstad to terrify the population and ensure no one would ever dare to dream of freedom again. The executioners carried out a sentence of unspeakable cruelty. Tula was broken on the wheel, his bones shattered one by one. His face was burned with hot irons, and he was finally beheaded. His body was thrown into the deep, indigo waters of the sea to be washed away and forgotten by history. But you cannot execute a dream. You cannot drown the truth. The water that claimed Tula's body only carried his legacy to every shore of the island. His sacrifice became the foundation of Curaçao's modern identity. Today, Tula is celebrated not as a rebel, but as the father of the nation. His statue stands proud, looking out over the sea, a symbol of dignity that can never be broken. The color of freedom is not white. It is the color of the blood spilled on these dry stones. And as we prepare to journey deeper into the secrets of the island, we must ask ourselves, how does a nation heal from such a wound? And what kind of sanctuary can be built on a stone that has wept so much? Leave behind the echoes of the rebellion and walk with me down the quiet, cobbled streets of Willemstad. Let the tropical heat soften and listen to a different kind of silence. A sacred, ancient silence that was carried across the vast ocean in the hearts of a deeply persecuted people. To find this sanctuary, we must step through the modest, bright yellow archway of the Mikveh Israel Emmanuel Synagogue. This is the oldest synagogue in continuous use in the entire Western Hemisphere, completed in 1732. But as your feet cross the threshold, you will notice something that feels completely surreal. Your shoes do not strike hard stone or polished wood. Instead, they sink, softly, gently, into a deep, thick blanket of pure white sand. 8 inches of soft, cool sand imported from the riverbeds of Suriname, covering the entire floor of the sanctuary. Why would a congregation cover its most sacred house of prayer in sand? It is one of the most beautiful and mysterious traditions in the Jewish world. The origin of this sand is rooted in a history of profound terror, exile, and ultimate survival. In the late 15th century, the deadly fires of the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisitions raged across Europe. The Edict of Expulsion in 1492 forced Sephardic Jews to convert to Christianity under pain of death or flee their ancestral homes. many fled to Portugal. But the terror followed them there. They escaped to Amsterdam, where freedom of religion was valued. And eventually, as the Dutch Empire expanded, they cast their eyes toward the horizon, searching for a place where they could finally breathe and pray without fear. The first Jew to set foot on Curaçao was Samuel Cohen, a translator on a Dutch West India Company ship in 1634, helping to claim the island from Spain. Then, in 1651, a Portuguese Jew named João de Lan led a small group of 10 to 12 families to the island to build a new life. They tried to farm this dry, barren rock, but the desert soil was stubborn and refused to yield crops. And so, they turned to trade, shipping, and banking, using their global connections to turn this tiny island into the wealthiest Jewish settlement in the New World. When they built Mikveh Israel Emmanuel in 1732, they laid the sand across the floor for three profound reasons, each one a deep layer of human memory. The first is a direct, heartbreaking tribute to their ancestors under the Inquisition. In Spain and Portugal, Jews who secretly practiced their faith had to meet in damp, dark basements. They covered the stone floors with dirt and sand to muffle the sound of their footsteps and their whispered Hebrew prayers. So the soldiers of the Inquisition, walking in the streets above, would not hear them and drag them to the flames. The sand beneath your feet in Willemstad is a living monument to that terrifying silence. The second reason is a symbolic journey. It recalls the 40 years of wandering through the harsh, arid desert after the exodus from Egypt, a reminder that faith can survive even in the most barren wilderness. And the third is a divine promise made to Abraham. I will surely bless you, and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. As you walk across this floor, your feet leave deep, clear imprints. And like a moving meditation, the synagogue attendant smooths over those footprints at the end of every week, leaving a fresh, undisturbed canvas of white. It is a powerful reminder that we are all travelers passing through time, leaving our marks on the world, only for the tide of history to smooth them away. When you look at the imprints you are leaving on the world, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you find your own inner sanctuary when the world around you feels hostile and chaotic? If the story of this beautiful, sand-covered sanctuary touches your heart, take a moment to drop a comment below, sharing your thoughts. Hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs a moment of peace today. Your presence in our community is a beautiful footprint of its own. Inside the synagogue's dimly lit museum, safely guarded behind glass, lies a treasure of immense age, a 14th century Torah scroll made of soft deerskin. It was smuggled out of Iberia at the height of the Inquisition, carried through secret networks in Europe, and sailed across the violent Atlantic to find its final home here, on a desert island in the Caribbean. The Jewish community did not just build a house of prayer, they built the modern fabric of Curacao. In the late 19th century, the Jewish firm of SEL, Maduro and Sons, was responsible for demolishing the ancient city walls of Willemstad, helping the capital expand into the vibrant metropolis we see today. They built the first oil tankers, established trade routes, and even supported Simon Bolivar in his fight for South American independence, resenting the Spanish Empire that had once cast them out. But to feel the true raw power of the wilderness that these settlers encountered, we must leave the city behind and travel north to the dramatic expanses of Christoffel National Park. Here, the island throws off its colorful colonial garments and reveals its true, untamed heart. This is a landscape of stark, brutal beauty. In this semi-arid wild, the average annual rainfall is barely 550 millimeters. Yet, life here does not weep, it adapts. Look at the iconic divi trees, their wooden trunks twisted and bent sharply to one side. They do not grow upright toward the heavens. Instead, they surrender gracefully to the constant, powerful northeast trade winds, turning their submission into a stunning, unique form of natural art. In the heart of this dry wilderness rises Mount Christoffel, 372 meters of jagged volcanic rock. It is the roof of Curacao. To climb it, you must start in the absolute pitch blackness before dawn, when the desert air is still cool and the limestone rock is safe to touch. As you reach the summit, the sun begins to bleed across the horizon, painting the Caribbean Sea in shades of gold and fire. And if you are quiet, if you listen to the wind rustling through the thorny acacia bushes, you might catch a glimpse of the rare Curacao white-tailed deer, a delicate creature that has adapted over thousands of years to survive on nothing but the moisture of the morning dew. This is a place where survival is not a struggle, but a quiet, beautiful art form. But if Christoffel shows us the quiet endurance of the land, then Shady Boca reveals the untamed, terrifying fury of the sea. Shady Boca, meaning 7 inlets in Papiamento, is where the Atlantic Ocean crashes with monstrous force against the ancient black limestone cliffs of the northern coast. At Boca Pistol, the massive waves are forced into a narrow, vertical fissure in the rock. With a sound that mimics a heavy gunshot, the seawater is blasted dozens of meters into the air, a towering geyser of white foam and mist. For a few seconds, the earth itself seems to explode under the weight of the water. It is a place of raw, unedited power, a reminder that the same water that brought chains and exile to this island is also a force of wild, beautiful liberation. And as we stand on these cliffs, watching the water blast into the sky, we must prepare to plunge beneath the surface of this deep blue edge, where the greatest secrets of the ocean are waiting to be revealed. Take a slow, quiet step into the warm turquoise water of the southern coast. Feel the soft white sand give way gently beneath your toes. Now, swim outward. Just a few dozen meters from the dry, cactus-studded shore, only a handful of steady, rhythmic strokes. Suddenly, the bright, sun-drenched bottom of the sea vanishes. The pale sandy floor disappears into an absolute, dizzying nothingness. Beneath you, a colossal vertical wall of ancient coral rock plunges straight down into the cold, silent dark, more than 1,000 meters deep. This is the Blue Edge. In almost any other part of the world, you must travel miles out to sea, far beyond the sight of land, to reach such terrifying depths. But here, the abyss sits right at the island's doorstep. It is a geological miracle that leaves you completely breathless. You are suspended in the water, floating on a thin, invisible line. On one side, a shallow, sunlit garden of vibrant coral. On the other, the infinite, crushing darkness of the deep ocean. It is a place where you instantly feel your own absolute insignificance. A threshold where the known world ends and the silent, unexplored mysteries of the planet begin. Have you ever stood on the edge of something so vast, so incredibly immense, that it made you feel completely small, yet deeply connected to the universe? How did it feel to gaze into that kind of bottomless infinity? If you have ever felt that powerful, humbling connection to the deep wild, share your experience in the comments below. Your thoughts are a bridge that connects us all across these digital waters. Right on the very brink of this massive drop-off, resting quietly in just 5 meters of water, lies the famous tugboat wreck. Decades ago, this small steel vessel met its silent end, sinking to the rocky seabed. It was an accident, a mechanical failure lost to time. But what began as a human tragedy has been completely reclaimed by the sea. Today, the rusted steel skeleton of the ship is barely visible. It has been entirely covered by a thick, living coat of soft corals, tubular sponges, and a delicate sea fans. Schools of tropical fish glide through the open metal windows where sailors once stood. It is a living city of color built on a foundation of iron and ruin. A beautiful proof that the ocean knows exactly how to heal itself. How to turn a wreck into a sanctuary. Just a few miles to the west, along the rugged limestone coast, lies another hidden wonder, the Blue Room. To enter this place, you must swim along the jagged cliffs and take a deep breath. You must duck your head beneath the dark rock and swim through a narrow underwater opening. When you surface on the other side, you find yourself inside a massive secret cave. And what you see will make you feel as though you have stepped into another dimension. The entire chamber is filled with a brilliant, glowing neon blue light. The light is not coming from above. It is sunlight passing through the deep water outside, filtering through the underwater opening, and illuminating the cave from below. The stone walls of the cave seem to dissolve in this surreal, electric glow. You feel entirely weightless, as if you are suspended in a chamber of liquid sky. But even in this dreamlike paradise, there are silent warnings. At times, tiny, translucent jellyfish drift through the quiet waters of the cave. Their delicate, trailing tentacles carry a mild, burning sting. A quiet, physical reminder that nature is not a theme park built for our entertainment. It is a wild, independent force that demands our absolute respect. Have you ever encountered a place that felt so magical, so utterly out of this world, that it changed the way you looked at nature? What was that place, and how did it affect your soul? If you are enjoying this deep, cinematic exploration of Curaçao's hidden worlds, please hit that like button, subscribe to 4K Travel Documentary, and share this video with fellow travelers of the mind. Your engagement is what allows us to keep diving into these deep waters. But the delicate balance of this underwater paradise is currently facing a silent, beautiful executioner, an invader, the lionfish. With its long, elegant fins spread out like a royal crown, and its body covered in zebra-like stripes of red and white, the lionfish is a creature of striking beauty. But it does not belong here. Originally native to the Indo-Pacific, this predator was introduced to the Caribbean, likely through released aquarium pets. In these waters, the lionfish has no natural predators. Its venomous spines protect it from larger fish, and its appetite is insatiable. A single lionfish can devour tens of thousands of juvenile reef fish in a matter of weeks, threatening to collapse the entire marine ecosystem. But the people of Curacao did not sit back and watch their reefs die. They did what they have always done when faced with an existential threat. They adapted. They turned the invader into a creative solution. Today, local divers descend into the deep blue edge, hunting the lionfish with specialized spears. And in the kitchens of Willemstad, chefs have transformed this ecological threat into a culinary delicacy. They carefully strip away the venomous spines and prepare the sweet white meat in a variety of incredible ways. Ceviche washed in lime, crisp lionfish tacos, Even lionfish pizza is served on the beach. By eating the predator, they are saving the reef. At Porto Mari, this fight for survival goes even deeper. Here, conservationists are building artificial structures beneath the waves, serving as metal skeletons where young, fragile coral fragments can be planted. Over time, these fragments grow, fuse, and form new, resilient underwater gardens. It is a beautiful, ongoing struggle, a testament to the fact that humans do not have to be a plague upon the earth. We can choose to be caretakers. We can choose to heal what we have broken. But as we look upon these incredible efforts to protect the natural beauty of the island, we must prepare ourselves to face a much larger, darker force. A force that would change the destiny of Curacao forever, casting a colossal industrial shadow over its pristine waters and its fragile air. How does a small island balance the promise of industrial wealth with the preservation of its very life? Let us look toward the horizon, where the giant metal towers of the modern world are waiting to rise. Let us lift our eyes from the neon waters of the Blue Room and look toward the center of the island. Here, the tranquil horizon of swaying palms and proud cacti is suddenly, brutally shattered. A colossal labyrinth of rusted metal pipes, towering chimneys, and gas flares rises like a steel monster against the sky. This is the Isla Oil Refinery, an industrial titan that has dominated the life, the economy, and the air of Curacao for over a century. To understand how this paradise became host to such a giant, we must look 60 kilometers south, to the year 1914. In the muddy waters of Venezuela's Maracaibo Basin, geologists struck oil, a massive black ocean of crude oil, waiting to be refined and sent to a world on the brink of war. But Venezuela lacked a safe, deep water port where massive ocean-going tankers could dock. Curacao, however, possessed exactly that. The Shottegat, the magnificent natural harbor that the Spanish had once dismissed as useless. In 1918, the corporate giant Royal Dutch Shell arrived on the island. They built a massive refining complex right on the shores of this pristine bay. Almost overnight, the quiet agricultural island was swept into the roaring gear of the global industrial machine. Thousands of workers arrived from across the Caribbean, Europe, and Asia. Money flowed through the streets of Willemstad like water. But this sudden, glittering wealth carried a dark, invisible price. A price that the citizens of Curacao would pay with their health, their land, and their very breath. As the decades rolled on, the global demand for oil reached a fever pitch. During the dark years of World War II, the refinery in Curacao worked day and night. It was a vital heartbeat for the Allied war effort, producing high-octane aviation fuel and diesel to power the ships and planes fighting in Europe. But refining lighter oil left behind a massive, heavy residue, asphalt. With no buyers during the chaos of the war, Shell had to find a place to put it. And so, they began to pump it directly onto the dry, dusty land just west of the refinery. Year after year, the black sludge poured out, filling a natural valley. By the time the war ended, they had dumped an estimated 1.5 million tons of heavy asphalt onto the earth, creating a colossal toxic wound. A 52-hectare asphalt lake, a vast, bubbling expanse of tar and chemical residue that baked under the vertical Caribbean sun. But the dumping did not stop there. Adjacent to the asphalt lake, they created an acid tar pond. A toxic cocktail of 34,000 tons of chemical waste, including highly corrosive sulfuric acid, used in the lubricant manufacturing process. For decades, this poisonous lake sat uncovered, venting toxic gases into the atmosphere. A monument of corporate neglect, hidden behind the promise of jobs and economic progress. It makes you pause and think, doesn't it? How often do we sacrifice the beauty and safety of our natural world for the short-term promises of industrial wealth? If you look at the place you call home, have you seen the natural landscape slowly consumed by factories, pollution, and concrete? Is the promise of economic development ever worth the destruction of our environment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know how your hometown has changed over the years. Your voice helps us understand the true cost of progress in every corner of the globe. The poison of the refinery was not confined to the toxic lakes. It rose into the sky. For nearly a century, massive chimneys belched thick, black clouds of soot and sulfur dioxide over the city. Because of the constant northeast trade winds, this toxic plume was blown directly over the residential neighborhoods due west of the plant. Dushi, Marchena, Gasparitu, Rosendal. In these tight-knit working-class communities, the air was frequently unbreathable. The smell of sulfur was so thick it would burn the back of the throat. Parents kept their windows tightly shut in the sweltering heat, trying desperately to keep the soot off their children's beds. Downwind schools were regularly forced to cancel classes because the toxic fumes were too thick for the children to breathe. Generations of Curaçaoans grew up with chronic coughs, asthma, and severe respiratory illnesses. A scientific study commissioned to examine the impact of the plant reached a terrifying conclusion. At least 18 premature deaths occurred on the island every single year, directly caused by the contaminants spewed from the chimneys. And yet, the fires kept burning. The money kept flowing into corporate accounts, while the local people breathed the ash. It was a classic case of what critics call toxic imperialism, where a powerful multinational company reaps billions of dollars in profits, while leaving the local population to suffer the devastating health consequences. If you believe that the health of human beings should always be placed above corporate profits, hit that like button right now. Subscribing to 4K Travel Documentary is your way of supporting stories that refuse to hide the truth behind beautiful tourist facades. Share this video with someone who needs to hear the real, unvarnished history of the places we travel to. The toxic touch of the refinery did not even spare the dead. Directly adjacent to the industrial site lies the historic Jewish cemetery of Curacao, the oldest Jewish cemetery in the Americas. Here, beneath the shadow of the massive metal towers, rest the ancestors of the Sephardic community that built the island's wealth. The gravestones are works of magnificent art, carved from fine marble and stone. But if you walk among them today, you will see a heartbreaking sight. The beautiful ancient carvings have been severely eroded, their inscriptions smoothed away by decades of acid rain. The sulfur dioxide from the refinery chimneys mixed with the tropical humidity to create a corrosive dew that slowly ate the history from the stone. The dead were being erased by the machinery of progress. By the mid-1980s, facing global overproduction, declining profits, and rising public outrage, Shell decided to make its exit. They knew that a massive environmental cleanup bill was looming in the future. And so, in 1985, they struck a deal with the government of Curacao. Shell sold the entire, sprawling refinery to the local government for a single, symbolic Antillean guilder. But in exchange for that one coin, they demanded something of immense value: complete indemnification. The agreement legally freed Shell from any and all future liability for the environmental devastation and health damages they had caused over 70 years. They shook hands, packed their bags, and walked away, leaving a tiny island nation to carry the colossal weight of a toxic legacy. By 2016, this small island, with a population of only 150,000 people, ranked among the highest in the entire world for carbon emissions per capita. A statistic that stands as a stark, silent witness to the industrial shadow that had fallen over this desert paradise. But as we look upon this rusted rust belt of oil tanks, we must prepare to see how the people of Curacao took this heavy, toxic shadow and began to fight back, reclaiming their sky and their destiny. How does a small island nation recover from such a devastating industrial legacy? Can the beauty of Curaçao's nature ever truly heal from a century of poison? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And now, are you ready to see how the people of Curaçao turned their pain into a beautiful, historic triumph that shook the world? Let us step out of the heavy gray shadow of the refinery and back into the golden, blinding light of the Curaçao sun. How does a land so dry, a history so bruised, and an air once filled with ash find its way back to life? The answer does not lie in grand government halls or multinational corporate offices. It lies in the dirt. It lies in the skin of a fruit that was once abandoned as completely useless. In the early 16th century, when the Spanish colonizers still held the dream of turning this arid rock into an agricultural paradise, they brought with them seeds of the sweet, juicy Valencia orange. They planted them in the dry, calcium-rich soil of the island, hoping to grow vast, fragrant groves that would yield wealth for the Spanish crown. But the island refused to comply. The blazing, vertical Caribbean sun scorched the delicate European trees. The near-total lack of fresh water withered their roots. The trees mutated, struggling simply to survive in this hostile, unforgiving landscape. And the fruit they produced was a bitter tragedy. The once sweet, plump oranges shrank into small, green, wrinkled spheres. Their flesh was so incredibly bitter and dry that even the wild goats on the island refused to eat them. The Spanish abandoned the withered groves in disgust. They called this mutated fruit the Laraja orange. Just like the island itself, the orange was deemed a useless error of geography. An Isla Inútil producing an inedible fruit. But the story of Curaçao is not a story of surrender. It is a story of reclaiming what has been discarded. As the generations passed, the local people looked upon these abandoned, bitter orange trees with a different kind of eye. They realized that while the flesh of the Laraja was completely useless, the tree had adapted to the harsh environment by concentrating its defensive, fragrant oils directly into its thick, green peel. The skin of the bitter orange had become a treasure chest of intense aromatic citrus flavor. They began to harvest these dry, sun-baked peels. Using traditional wooden knives to slice the skin into 4 neat sections, because metal knives would react with the oils and ruin the taste. They carefully peeled the fruit. They laid the rinds out on wide wooden racks to dry under the vertical sun and the warm, constant northeast trade winds for days, until they were dry and hard as leather. They then suspended these dried peels inside copper stills along with a secret blend of spices and alcohol, distilling the essence of survival into a clear, delicate orange liqueur. The liquid was pure, sweet, and perfectly clear. But then came a stroke of absolute marketing genius that would turn this local secret into a global phenomenon. They decided to dye the liqueur, not with yellow or green, but with a deep, mesmerizing artificial shade of blue. The exact electric blue of the ocean that surrounds their isolated rock. They called it Blue Curaçao, and almost overnight, the name of this tiny, overlooked island was carried to every bar, restaurant, and luxury hotel on the face of the earth. A drink from a bitter, useless fruit that had mutated to survive a harsh desert became the ultimate global symbol of tropical paradise. Think about the beautiful irony of this transformation. The colonizers saw only failure and walked away. The locals saw a hidden essence and distilled it into gold. Have you ever experienced a time in your own life when something you initially thought of as a failure, a rejection, or a bitter disappointment turned out to be the very thing that defined your unique strength? How did you distill your own bitter moments into something sweet and lasting? Share your journey with us in the comments below. Your resilience might be the exact inspiration someone else needs to read today. And if you are captivated by how this island turns every limitation into a triumph, take a second to hit that like button, subscribe to 4K Travel Documentary, and share this video with your friends. It is your support that allows us to tell these deep stories of human adaptation. The Laraja orange was not the only way the people of Curacao learned to feed themselves from the scarcity of the desert. If you walk into the small, rustic eateries of West Punt or the bustling food stalls of the old market in Willemstad, you will find a dish that seems to belong to another world. Iguana soup, known locally as sopa de iguana. For generations, the green iguana has roamed the dry, rocky limestone cliffs of the island. In times of severe drought and poverty, when food was scarce and the soil refused to yield vegetables, the people could not afford to be selective. They harvested the iguana, preparing a rich, nourishing broth, seasoned with local herbs, garlic, and hot peppers. The meat is lean, delicate, and often compared to chicken, but with a unique, wild flavor shaped by the desert brush. Today, what began as a desperate meal of survival is celebrated as a proud, traditional delicacy. A culinary memory of a time when the people of Curacao looked at the harsh, barren wild and saw abundance where others saw only emptiness. This is the unbroken thread that runs through every chapter of this island's history. They do not complain about what they lack. They take the bitter orange and make it sweet. They take the wild reptile of the desert and turn it into a comforting soup. In a beautiful, poetic parallel, they did the exact same thing with language. When the colonial masters forced their languages upon the enslaved populations, the people of Curacao did not merely accept them. They mutated them. They blended Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, West African dialects, and indigenous Arawak terms into Papiamento, a rich, rhythmic Creole language that became the linguistic shield of the island. A language born from the bitter soil of oppression, transformed into a sweet, expressive national voice of pride. Curacao has proven again and after again that real, lasting value does not come from perfect, wealthy beginnings. It comes from the magical ability to remake oneself. And now, as we move into the modern era, this spirit of resilience is preparing to reveal itself to the entire world on a scale no one could have ever imagined. A fairy tale that is about to unfold on the green grass of the global stage. Where a tiny island nation of only 150,000 people is preparing to challenge the giants of the earth. an athletic miracle that has already sent shockwaves through the sporting world. Are you ready to see how a tiny dot on the map shook the foundations of the world's greatest sport? Let us turn our eyes to the stadium, where the blue wave is resounding. Close your eyes and listen to a sound that does not belong to the quiet, dusty hills of the desert. It is the thunderous roar of 90,000 voices. The blinding glare of towering stadium lights and the vibrant green of a perfectly manicured pitch. There, standing in the narrow concrete tunnel, are 11 men wearing the electric, deep blue of the Caribbean Sea. They are the national football team of Curacao. The Blue Wave, and they are about to step into a reality that no one, absolutely no one, ever believed possible. This is an island of only 150,000 people, a self-governing nation covering a mere 171 square miles of dry volcanic rock. Think about that number, 150,000. That is not the population of a major global metropolis. It is barely a small city in Europe or North America. Yet, on November 18, 2025, this tiny, overlooked speck of land defied the laws of probability, finance, and sports history. They captured the top spot in their qualifying group and secured their ticket to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In doing so, they became the smallest nation by both population and area in the entire history of the world to qualify for football's greatest showpiece. How does a country with no professional league and a stadium that holds only a fraction of its population play against the giants of the earth? The answer is a strategic bridge across the ocean. Just as the Queen Emma Bridge spans St. Anna Bay, the minds of Curacao built a cultural bridge to Europe. They looked to the Netherlands, where a vast diaspora of elite players of Curaçaoan heritage were being trained in prestigious academies. Players like Tahith Chong developed in the Manchester United youth system, and Jurgen Locadia reached Lee Bazoer and the dynamic Bacuna brothers. These men could have chased the orange shirts of the Dutch national team, but instead, they felt the pull of the southern Caribbean winds. They chose to return to their roots, wear the blue of their ancestors' home, and represent the dry limestone, the thorny cacti, and the unbroken spirit of Dushi. They chose identity over ease. What followed was a campaign that read like a beautiful, cinematic fairy tale. 10 matches, and through it all, they never tasted defeat. 7 wins, 3 draws, 0 losses. They marched through the CONCACAF qualifiers with a high-scoring offense that amassed 28 goals, the highest in the region, while conceding a paltry 3. They began by sweeping Barbados 4-1, with Rangelo Janga scoring a spectacular hat-trick. They dominated St. Lucia 4-0, with Gervain Castanier netting his own hat-trick and dismantled Haiti 5-1. The Blue Wave was no longer a quiet dream. It was a rising force of nature. But even the most powerful storm needs a master. For Curaçao, that master was Dick Advocaat. At 78 years old, the veteran Dutch manager was preparing to make history of his own as the oldest coach to lead a team at the World Cup. But the road was filled with painful turns. In February 2026, Advocaat stepped down due to a personal emergency regarding the health of his daughter. The local federation handed the reins to Fred Rutten. But by May, his daughter's health had miraculously improved. In an act of profound respect, Rutten stepped down on the 11th of May, allowing the beloved veteran to return. The general had returned to lead his troops into the greatest arena on earth. The climax came on a tense night in Kingston, Jamaica, on November 18, 2025. The Reggae Boys of Jamaica stood between Curaçao and a dream. For 90 minutes, the stadium was a cauldron of pressure. The Jamaican attackers poured forward, desperate to shatter the blue wall. But standing in the net was the Eloy room. The veteran goalkeeper played the match of his life, throwing his body into the path of danger, tipping screaming shots over the crossbar, and making gravity-defying saves. The defense stood like the limestone cliffs of Shady Boca, completely unyielding. When the referee's final whistle blew, the scoreboard read 0-0, a draw, but for Curaçao, it was a victory sweeter than the finest orange liqueur. They had won Group B. They were going to the World Cup. Back in Willemstad, the capital exploded into pure, beautiful madness. Thousands of people flooded the streets, dancing on the wooden planks of the Queen Emma Bridge, as the swinging old lady shook under the joyful weight of a nation's triumph. Yet, as the players celebrated in Kingston, tears of grief mingled with sweat. For Captain Leandro Bacuna, this was a promise kept to a ghost. He looked up at the sky, his hand resting over a tattoo etched deeply into his arm. A tattoo of Jairzinho Peter. Peru. In September 2019, Peru, the beloved goalkeeper of the national team, suffered a sudden fatal heart attack in his hotel room. He was only 31 years old. The loss shattered the team, but Bacuna never forgot the words Peru had spoken to him on his first day with the squad in 2016. Peru had looked him in the eyes and said, "We are able to reach the World Cup." Through every long flight, every painful defeat, and every moment of doubt, Bacuna carried that promise like a sacred shield. He believed Peru had been protecting them from above, guiding their shots, and standing as an invisible guardian in their net. This victory belonged to Peru. It is a story that forces us to look past the game of football and see the profound, beautiful depth of the human spirit. How we can carry the unfulfilled dreams of those we have lost, using their memory as fuel to achieve the absolute impossible. Have you ever lost someone who believed in you when no one else did? Someone whose voice you still hear in the quiet moments, pushing you to keep going when you want to surrender. How do you honor their legacy and carry their light forward in your own life? If the incredible, emotional journey of Peru and the blue wave has touched your soul, please drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to believe in miracles today. And subscribe to 4K Travel Documentary so you never miss the final chapter of this journey. Your voice in our community is a powerful tribute to the power of memory and resilience. Now, the ultimate stage is set. On June 14, 2026, the Blue Wave will step onto the pitch of the NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas, for the very first World Cup match in their history. Their opponent? Germany. A four-time World Cup champion, a true titan of global football. They will face Ecuador and the Ivory Coast in Group E, one of the most punishing groups in the entire tournament. The world expects them to fall, but the Giants do not understand the soil of Curaçao. They do not know what it means to grow sweet from dryness and strong from mixture. Curaçao does not play for wealth or fame. They play for their history. They play for Tula. They play for Peru. And when they step onto that grass, they will be an entire island, rising like a giant blue wave, ready to surprise the world once more. We leave the roaring stadiums of North America behind and return to the quiet, ancient shores of Curaçao, to a place where the salt pans of Jan Kok glisten under the fading golden light of day, where wild pink flamingos step gracefully through the shallow, briny water, their feathers reflecting the soft, pastel pink of the Caribbean sunset. Here, the air is quiet, save for the constant rhythmic whisper of the northeast trade winds. The wind carries the scent of salt, dry stone, and the deep, cold ocean that surrounds this isolated rock. It is a place of profound, beautiful reflection. A landscape that has witnessed every single chapter of this island's long, turbulent, and inspiring journey. As the darkness begins to gather over the cacti and the limestone cliffs, we realize that the story of Curacao is not just a collection of historical facts. It is a masterclass in the art of human survival. It is a living testament to the truth that beauty is not born from comfort, but from the fires of struggle. In the beautiful language of Papiamento, there is a word that is whispered in the cradle and spoken at the grave. Dushi. If you ask a passing traveler, they will tell you it simply means sweet or delicious. They will tell you it is what you call a beloved partner, a dear friend, or a breathtaking tropical sunset. But to the people of Curacao, the word Dushi carries a spiritual weight that cannot be translated in a simple dictionary. It is a complete philosophy of life, a way of looking at a hard, dry, and unforgiving world and choosing, with absolute defiance, to find sweetness anyway. It is the spirit that took a bitter orange peel, mutated by drought, and distilled it into a brilliant blue liqueur that conquered the globe. It is the spirit that took the heavy, agonizing memory of iron chains and turned it into a proud song of national identity. It is the spirit that took the barefoot walk of poverty on a wooden bridge and transformed it into a proud march of human dignity. Dushi is the victory of the human soul over the stones of the desert. Think back to the Spanish conquerors who stood on these very black cliffs 500 years ago. They looked at this dry, dusty rock, saw no gold, and walked away in bitter disgust. They wrote down a name that was meant to be a permanent curse, Isla Inútil. How blind they were. They were looking through the lens of greed, and so they could not see that the greatest wealth of a land is never what you can dig out of its soil. It is what you can build in the hearts of its people. The very lack of gold was a strange, protective blessing in disguise. It kept the island free from the massive, soul-crushing sugarcane plantations that stripped other Caribbean islands of their forests and erased their indigenous souls. It left Curacao open to become a sanctuary for the exiled, a battleground for the brave, and a vibrant crossroads for the entire world. The useless island turned out to be the ultimate anchor of resilience. We all have our own useless islands in our lives, don't we? Those places of dryness and isolation. Those moments where we feel abandoned, overlooked, or judged by those who cannot see our true value because they are looking for the wrong things. But if Curacao has taught us anything, it is that the dry stone of our lives can become the perfect, unyielding foundation for a beautiful, unbreakable identity. If you look back at your own journey, what is the dry stone of your life that you managed to turn into your greatest strength? What is the word in your own language or your own culture that captures that beautiful, resilient spirit of survival? Let us know in the comments below. Your stories are the real heartbeat of this community. A powerful reminder that we are all connected across these vast, moving oceans of life. And if this epic 9-chapter journey through the heart of Curacao has touched your soul, please hit that like button, subscribe to 4K Travel Documentary, and share this video with everyone who believes in the power of the human spirit. Your interaction is the wind that carries our sails to the next forgotten corner of the earth. We have walked through the pastel-painted streets of Willemstad, uncovering the governor's secret greed. We have stood in the dark, heavy holding pens of Kattegat, feeling the sorrow of the transatlantic trade. We have marched with Tula across the dry fields of the Nip plantation, hearing the first unbreakable cry of freedom. We have left our footprints in the soft, white sand of the oldest synagogue in the Americas, honoring those who fled the fire of the Inquisition. We have climbed the rugged, wind-swept peak of Mount Christoffel, watching the rare white-tailed deer slip through the acacia thorns. We have plunged into the neon glow of the Blue Room and swam along the edge of the deep blue abyss. We have faced the dark, toxic legacy of the industrial age, breathing the soot of Dushi and Marchina, and watching the ancient marble tombstones dissolve in the acid rain. And we have felt the electric, unifying surge of the blue wave, carrying the promise of the fallen goalkeeper Jairzinho Pieter onto the greatest pitch on earth. Every single one of these stories is a thread in a rich, multicolored tapestry. A tapestry woven from struggle, adapted in isolation, and colored by a million different memories. When you look at Handelsgate reflected in the still, dark water of St. Anna Bay, you are not just looking at paint. You are looking at a monument to human resilience. The colors are bright because they had to overcome the dark. The bridge swings because it had to connect what was divided. The sand is soft because it had to muffle the steps of the persecuted. The orange is sweet because it had to survive the dry stone. The wave is rising because they refuse to let a dream drown in the deep blue sea. The light is fading now. The sun has dipped completely beneath the horizon, leaving only a faint purple glow on the water. The lights of the Queen Emma Bridge flicker to life, casting a shimmering neon rainbow onto the dark water of St. Anna Bay. The swinging old lady stands ready, connecting Punta and Otrobanda, waiting for the next ship to pass. And as the night takes the island, the journey does not end here. The road continues on the screen ahead, where another overlooked corner of the world is waiting to be found.